Hey, folks, welcome to NiteLife Exchanges, where we discuss nightlife and the stuff that's happening in our nightlife world. I'm the publisher of NiteLife Exchange, and I'm going to ask my associate and my co-host to join us now. So, Tony Javits, come on.
I
There
am
you are.
on and raring to
Tony,
go.
Tony, it's been a while. I haven't seen you. I'm sorry. We need to catch up. We need to catch up more often.
We need quality time.
We need quality time, but today we're going to spend some quality time. And this is somebody that I think everybody that's in this business knows more than likely, or you've heard of. And I met him when he first came to New York, blah blah blah, blah years ago, because I was raised and grew up here.
So
So I met him
recently.
I met him when he first got here, and I've been watching his career, and I've seen him in many shows, and he's been a trendsetter, a go-getter, and he's always tries to be on the cut. It would seem he always tries to be on the cutting edge. And for our conversation today,
Yeah,
this
so
is
he's the
cutting edge.
consummate multi-hyphenate.
This is
Let's just say that.
yeah, this is going to be cutting edge. So let's bring him on now, Richard Skipper.
Hello there, guys.
Hey,
Scott,
Richard.
I've known you before Tony was born, I think.
It's
You're flatterer.
Richard, there you go.
So we've been around a long time.
It has been a while, but it's nice to see you on this medium, even though that's part of what we're discussing is this medium. But so let me just say, you're looking well.
Thank you. I
You
feel
seem to have a nice glow. Yes, you might. Maybe you're feeling just things coming back to some sort of an equilibrium that's better to
I
live
call
with.
this my meta release.
There you go.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Richard, you decided, how many days has it been now that you actually formally left social
11 days ago. Yeah.
11 days
Formally.
ago.
Formally.
And
That's
and
like
what was
forever. That's a forever in online years.
it
That
does.
seems forever in most people's lives. If I could just, before we jump into the conversation, just to give you a little history. I mean, I am old enough to remember the days before we even had answering machines. And then when I came to New York, we had answering services. I worked for the Green Room Answering Service. And then when the internet age officially started, we didn't have the Facebook, as it was originally called, if you remember that,
Right.
guys. But we had Stu Hamstra was out there with his cabaret hotline. He created a message board, and people were able to go in and keep in touch with each other through the cabaret community, which is mostly where our work is, Scott.
Right.
And when he was doing that, it started out great, but then, like a lot of things, there was a very contentious time with Mac. You know this because you and I were both on the board at that time. Yeah. And Stu was spending a lot of time going in and deleting posts. And this was a one-man operation who was doing everything to try to keep the civility, because it's very easy, especially in this meta world that we live in now, for people to spew whatever they want to spew. And if there's no one to guard that or guide that, we are all swimming in the same, forgive me, guys, in the same cesspool.
Yeah.
Well,
And
true.
that brings us to today, where, and every now, like when you get to a certain point, you got to call in the people that clean out the cesspool.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of that happening, we've now heard from Mark Zuckerberg on that platform, which is Facebook, that there will be nobody that will monitor. You could put whatever you want up on; it's going to self-regulate. But at what point did you finally say? Because I know one of the things you do is you're a performer. You have shows. You need to get information out, and it's like us. We're on Facebook now because this is where we've landed, and we figure this is the best way to get it out to the most amount of people.
Yes.
Right.
Let me just
we had to email you today.
A lot of people who follow me on Facebook know that I actually left Facebook a few years ago for a few months, and I found that during that time frame, I didn't miss it. When I started going back into live performing, here we are, 5 years this week. that the world shut down because of COVID. Um,
Right.
And thank God that we had all of these platforms to get us through that time period. Zoom meetings and Zoom parties. My 60th birthday party was a Zoom party. And so all of this kept us together. And when I jumped back into the waters of live performing, everyone said, you need Facebook to market and promote your show. That brought me back. And I really have been here for quite some time. There's so much to unravel here, and we have a short time, so I want to keep this as concise as possible. But one of the things that I've discovered through my own research is that less than 3% of our friends and followers will ever see our content on Facebook. And we feel with this passive point of posting things that people are going to see it. This morning, I went on, I do go into my Facebook account every morning. I take 9 names, that's my number, and I reach out to those people, or I make sure that they're in my database, because I don't want to lose contact with so many people who have supported me over the years. That would be career suicide. So I go through, I grab those names. This morning when I went on, I actually saw a post from someone who said, I cannot believe that you unfriended me. Really? Thanks a lot. And I immediately called him and left a message. This was after 1 month of posting every single day that I was going to be leaving Facebook at the end of February. Meta, because that includes Instagram and WhatsApp I never really used.
Right.
So the fact that this friend of mine wasn't even aware that I was leaving Facebook. I had a conversation with a friend this afternoon that I called just to say, I don't know if you've seen my postings. She had not seen any of my postings. Several years ago, I lost a friend because he was upset that I did not respond to the fact that his mom had died. And I did not know it. It never showed up in my feed. The bottom line is I could post, Scott Barbarino and I are appearing tonight at Carnegie Hall. I hope that you'll come and see the show. I can tag Carnegie Hall. I can tag Scott. And we will be lucky between the two of us if 10 people respond in a positive way. I'm not talking about a like. I'm not talking about an emoji. I'm talking about someone saying, I've seen Richard Skipper.
Right.
I've seen Scott Barbarino. I really suggest that you go see this show.
True engagement. Yeah.
True engagement. And there was a time when we had that. And the fact that people are scrolling through and hitting a emoji when I post something, that's not engaging with me. And I personally, I just turned 64, and I'm going to make a bet with both of you guys. I have passed middle age. I don't have 64 more years. And I want to make the best of this time that I can possibly do. I am still very much out there. I have a newsletter. I have my YouTube channel. I have these other platforms. But Facebook is not cutting it for me anymore. I heard a comedian the other day, and she said, do you have these friends on Facebook? The friend who posts, I'm stuck in traffic. I just saw a bumblebee. Are you aware? Is it getting dark where you are?
I know, huh?
Yes, you know, huh? These postings that we are seeing every day, what has happened to us as a nation, as a country, as a world, is that we are in two camps now. And some people straddle both. We are either narcissist, where we feel that the fact that you're stuck in traffic needs to be broadcast to every person you know and every person you don't know, or we are voyeurs. And those are the people who scroll through and will hit an emoji button, but won't say anything about what you're actually doing, who you are. Since I announced that I was leaving Facebook, I cannot begin to tell you the number of people, and I am flattered and I am honored and I am thrilled that so many people said, please, we don't want you to go. We don't want you to go. It's been 11 days. How many of those people do you think I've heard from?
That's probably a very good question.
Yeah.
I was, by the way, lucky enough to be on one of the last times that you, well, we can say lucky or not, to be on one of the last times that you were on social media and Facebook with your talk show, with your
No,
show now.
it still goes out every
You're
Friday.
moving it, but it's all being moved through email. Is that right?
Through email and through my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So a lot of people, and you, Scott, you and I, one of the things that I love about you is the honest conversations that you and I have had over the course of many, many years. We have seen this industry, and I'm talking about cabaret, change so dramatically since you and I both got into it. And you and I, having served on the Mac board, we have had many in-depth conversations. I mean, truly getting into the weeds with what's working and what's not working in this business. And
Right.
one of the biggest things that has not changed, do you know what it is, Scott?
Is it getting people into your audience and
Bingo.
feeds?
Audience development. And it's the biggest thing. So many people, and I want to stress that what is working for me may not work for you. But it's what I require in my life. A dear friend of mine, she said, replace need with the word require. What I require in my life is an interactive experience with the people that are important in my life. Because of Facebook, I have been going through, as I mentioned. 2 weeks ago, I reached out to Terry Roston. And when I reached out to her, I had no idea she was in the hospital. I spoke with her in the hospital, and she said to me, and I will never forget this, she said, I want to write a book called Dying is Fun. Because since I announced that I was in the hospital, I have heard from people that I have not heard from in years. People are reaching out with flowers,
Right.
chocolates, all these things. And I think that what has happened because of Facebook and social media is that so many of us have gotten very passive in terms of our relationships. And there are, I can say good morning to someone and get nothing more than a heart emoji. And not even to say, how are you? What's going on in your life? Because are people really that much in a hurry nowadays that it's just swiping through our friends? And again, I've had some incredible experiences on Facebook. But where I am right now, and this goes back to where we started this conversation, when Zuckerberg announced that there were going to be no guardrails, I got to thinking about this. And it's a very interesting time in our country right now because Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Elon Musk, three of the top billionaires in this country, are deciding how we communicate with one another. They are deciding how we interact with one another. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm an empath, and I can go on, and the first thing that pops up on my feed in the morning can set the tone for my entire day.
Oh, sure.
And I don't want that anymore.
Sure.
And I'm being honest.
Let me just say now, because we have the ability to not have to work within time constraints, we generally try to do 15 minutes to 20 minutes, which we're definitely going to do, but we're going to roll with this and give ourselves more time because we can. And then this will go up on NiteLife Exchange, and hopefully more people see it on our platform. And if you're not signed up for the NiteLife Exchange newsletter, that's probably a good idea, since now I'm finding out that from Richard that only 3% of you are even seeing that we have what we are up to.
That's right.
And people should join the best way for people to find out about what you're doing is you've ramped up your email process. Is that one
my
of the
email process and my newsletter, which goes out every Monday? No spamming ever, I promise. I now have over 1,000 subscribers. So I'm thrilled that there are people out there who have jumped on board because they want to hear what I have to say. My newsletter is not just Richard Skipper, Richard Skipper, Richard Skipper. I post about things that are going on in the community. I am nowhere near NiteLife Exchange. What I do is very, very different. I don't propose to be a guide. It's just to let my friends and followers know what is available to them, on each day of the week, because I believe that each day is to be worth celebrating. Thus, Richard Skipper celebrates. But
Richard, let me just say also, you've always done that. You've
yeah,
always been the person along for all of these years that always has promoted other people. You've put together groups where you've said let's all go, and you'd go to see a group to see a show. I mean, you've always done that. So that's great that you're still doing that, and I'm happy that people are signing up for it.
Yeah.
And that means, like I said, right now, if you really want to make sure that you don't miss what Richard's up to, sign up for his news, at least get his newsletter, and so you'll know what's going on.
And I can't imagine that there isn't that almost everyone, if not everyone, who will have seen this hasn't been touched by your work and benefited from it. We're all beneficiaries. So thank you.
But I do want to say, either through Scott and Tony or directly to me, if you've got questions or concerns, I mean, there are so many things that I hear about why people don't want to leave Facebook. And I get it. I get you feel that you are going to lose that pipeline. The truth of the matter is you don't have that pipeline. It's superficial. When I first got on the Facebook, when you got on in the morning, there was a news feed, and they decided to get rid of the news feed. And do you remember, both of you guys? It was constantly changing. So they got rid of the news feed, and then you go on, what's on your mind today? And you post. Imagine, I'll go back to when I first got on Facebook. You were allowed to have, I think you still can, 5,000 friends. And I remember that was the goal for me. When I got to that mark where I had 5,000 friends, I thought, wow, there are 5,000 people out there who genuinely are interested in what I have to say. I learned very quickly that that was not the case. A lot of people, imagine each of you with the number of friends that you have on Facebook. If every single posting that you did have, let's say that we were lucky enough that more people saw our postings, everybody would pull their hair out if they got a posting every single day.
Exactly.
Years ago, a mutual friend of ours in the community told me that she felt that I was posting too much about my show. And I called a branding expert. And I said, when is it too much? And he said, after the show closes.
Right.
Because I can post 3 times a day on each of my pages on Facebook. And then at the end of the day, I could poll people with phone calls and things. Did you see my post? No. How many times have I done shows that when those shows are over, people have said to me, oh, I wish I knew about that. Or I find out about an event after it's happened, simply because everyone thinks by having a Facebook page or a Facebook posting that the world is seeing it. Wrong, folks. It's not happening.
As a communications guy in my professional life, it is not a one and done situation. You do have to monitor sort of the sentiment that you're getting, because some audiences are going to have a greater tolerance for more posts. But generally speaking, over communication is a very hard thing to get to, because you got to say it and you got to say it again. And then you got to remind people, oh, did you hear what I said? Just to cut through. There's so much to cut through anymore, so much chatter. By the way, there is somebody that just, I think, wanted to say hello. So why don't we just pop this wonderful person on screen?
My Sue, I love you, Sue. No, people are saying to me everywhere I go, they're going, what are you doing? Somebody asked me last night if I had face work done, and I said no. I just feel better than I have felt in a long, long time. I still want to stay in touch with everyone. I do reach out, at the end of every one of my shows. I will say, like, if I was doing a show tonight, and I base this, everyone, crazy woo me on numerology. Today is a 9-day in numerology in my chart. So I would end my show tonight by saying, reach out to the 9th name on your Facebook friends list.
Right.
In your emails, the 9th email that you see today, respond with a phone call instead of an email. And if you don't know that person well enough to make that phone call, they shouldn't be sending you emails.
There you go. Now, before we forget, because we have a bit more time as we're giving ourselves the time we need. when is the next time that people that are fans of or want to see Richard Skipper live, what's your next event that they may not see on social media? I've seen you have some performances set up.
I've got some things set up, and I
Let us
hope that
know.
I can mention this. But the Dutch Street Club is doing a special evening on the 25th, and I am going to do a mini version of Richard Skipper Celebrates. I will open with a song like I used to do when I was doing the shows at the Laurie Beachman. I have one special guest that I can announce, and that's Julie Halston. And
woohoo! You heard it here first.
Yes, this is an exclusive. You're getting it. Julie Halston. And there's another big Broadway name that I am just waiting on final confirmation today. So you can go to the Dutch Street Club, or you can reach out to me. And of course, Scott will have information for the NiteLife Exchange when we get it. But it's a special evening because normally their events are in the afternoons. This is a very special evening performance that we're doing.
Very good. And then you have something. Are you promoting some? Are you going over to the other side of the pond as well?
No, I have nothing currently scheduled, but I will be in Provincetown. I'm going to be there on the 4th and the 5th. I just debuted a new show this past week called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Richard Skipper, but Were Afraid to Ask.
I saw that.
I did the show on Wednesday night. If you remember, one of the most torrential rainstorms I've experienced in years. I mean, it was horrible. Goldie DeVere, God bless her, she trudged through the rain and she was there. And she was the only person, and I love this, by the way, I love seeing my cabaret friends, but to walk into a room of people that I don't know was exciting. So when we passed out the cards, there were some people that said, I don't know Richard Skipper well enough to ask a question. But once I got into the show, hands started going up. And I felt like Carol Burnett doing the exchange with the audience. And I had a great, great show. The audience response was beyond what I thought it was going to be. And if things go according to my plans, Tom Dangora, are you watching? I hope to bring this show to the Laurie Beachman either the last weekend in June, last weekend of May, first weekend of June, the weekend after Memorial Day weekend. That Friday night, we're working on something. So hopefully that's going to happen.
I love that concept. Can you share with us what one of your favorite questions asked from the audience was?
Well, you asked me. What would you like to know?
Are you afraid to ask,
You
Scott?
asked a question. So, Richard, being the fact that you originally came from South Carolina, and you have family there still. Mm-hmm. How is everybody? Because of course, in our New York news media, my sister lives down in Myrtle Beach now, nearby.
You know that's where I'm from.
Yeah, right by you. What was the story? Was this really true about these fires breaking out, or was this a lot of we never know because we don't know what's true, what true news there is anymore either, right?
We know what true news is. The question is whether in South Carolina they know what the true news is or not. I will say this. Unfortunately, I just recently lost two family members. Two cousins passed away within 7 days of each other. One went in the hospital with pneumonia, never came out. And another was diagnosed in September. She went for a routine colonoscopy. Get your colonoscopies, folks. A lot of people in my demographic, we need to do this. Right. She went in and found out that she had colon cancer. That was in September, and she just passed away last week.
Do it. Do the test. We had a friend who in a heartbeat was gone and was had no idea. A totally healthy, vital person, super successful, and then within like a month. So get your colonoscopies. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I actually, I have to say this: the night before is the hard part. But I go in, and when they give me whatever they put into my arm, I drift off, and it's the best sleep.
That's the propanol, the same thing that they gave to that Michael Jackson used
I
to
know,
enjoy.
I know. And I
So
can
You were about to
understand.
say something, Scott.
yeah, to roll back into what we're talking about here. So now we've got a bunch of people hopefully watching and seeing this video and saying to themselves, I'm not comfortable with being on, it's making my life miserable being on, or it's not working for me being on social media, on the meta platforms. And you've always been somebody that has has tried to help people in all different ways. And you also are usually pretty savvy when it comes to setting up systems of financial, for business and all of that. Is there anything on the horizon here for Richard Skipper helps to save you from social media? In other words, will you, if somebody needs to find out what the steps are,
Scott,
uh, they can
oh,
get in touch with you, right?
I'm going to put you on the spot. Why don't you, as NiteLife Exchange, create an evening? We'll set the price, and you'll get a percentage of what we take in that will go to NiteLife Exchange. And I
Okay.
will try to guide people through this process.
We'll do a
But let me
question
tell
and
people.
answer and everything else. Sure.
Let me tell people how I did it. First of all, I was recently in Palm Springs doing my show. While I was in Palm Springs for 7 glorious days, Danny, my husband, and I made a vacation of it. We were having lunches and dinners and breakfast with friends, many that you know, and having a wonderful time out there. And while we were having these lunches and dinners and breakfast, never once did I look at my phone. Never once did I have to go. My phone would be turned off. It would be left in the glove compartment, or it would be left in my hotel room when I left. I just didn't feel this constant need to constantly look at that. And then I was finding that, and again, I'm speaking for Richard Skipper, if any of these things that I'm about to talk about give you pleasure, by all means, you should continue to do them. But I got tired of seeing pictures of what people were having for dinner when I wasn't when I wasn't invited to have dinner with them. I got tired of people sitting in a theater holding up their playbills when I wasn't invited to join them for those events. There were so many things that I felt, and
I'm
maybe it's
guilty of
FOMO.
that. I'm guilty of that. I'm saying.
Yeah, FOMO, and I'm going, well, I would have loved to have been part of this. While I was in Palm Springs, I had a dinner with a very nice friend of mine. And he said after he moved to Palm Springs, he was on one day just scrolling as some people do, and he saw a picture of a pool party. And he knew every single person in that picture. And he went, well, why wasn't I invited to this? And he began to feel sorry for himself. It's this morning when a friend of mine, and I'm talking about a true blue friend, posted in a private message, I cannot believe that you unfriended me on Facebook. What does that say about us as a country? That all of a sudden, that if someone's unfriended on Facebook, that they feel that act of anger or whatever separates us and is constantly separating us. So what this was happening for me in Palm Springs, I was thinking about how much I was not missing it. So I went online one night and I started looking up how to leave Facebook. There's actually a book called How to Leave Facebook and Never Look Back. This book, believe it or not, was written 10 years ago. I ordered the book, and on my Kindle, I read the book on the flight back. And it just gave this, ideas of things that you could do. So I made an announcement that I was going to leave at the end of February, a short month, yes, but each day I did a different rollout. I did a different rollout about, one day I would write out Blue Sky. One day I would write about my newsletter. One day I would write about my website, just to let people know as I was preparing to leave that there were other options to find me. And as I was doing that rollout, I was writing to people through private messenger, and I would write to people, say, just to let you know, when I see that you see this, I will be unfriending you on Facebook. So a lot of people did see that. Some people didn't see it. And so now people are upset that they feel that they've done something wrong, and they haven't, to cause me to want to unfriend them. Mm-hmm. I had someone reach out to me in December. one of the busiest months of the year, and this past December was one of the busiest Decembers I remember having in years.
Mhm.
And was upset because I didn't come to his show. And that's another conversation we'll have another time. But when I told him to call me, we talked about it, and then added another date, I still wasn't available.
Mhm.
And because I wasn't available, he unfriended me on Facebook, and he unsubscribed from my newsletter. And when that happened, I have to admit, I laughed out loud. I said, "Is this what we have come to?"
It's a little outsized, isn't it? I mean, I remember when I trust that people have other things going on in their life than me. That's
Right,
just how I roll.
right. I'm
But
reading a
it's
great book now. I'm leading a book group called The Let Them Theory. And one of the things that Mel Robbins says is let them. It has nothing to do with you. One of the 4 agreements, if any of you know that book, is it's not about you. And on any given night, I can guarantee, and if you are, thank you all. But I doubt that people are sitting around thinking about what Richard Skipper is doing tonight. I don't think they're, Tony, Scott, I don't think they're thinking about what you're doing tonight. We pop into people's consciousness now when it shows up in a feed.
But
And a
more
lot of
importantly,
times,
sometimes you do pop into someone's head. And isn't that a glorious thing?
that's a
Because
glorious thing.
their brain just wandered over to you. So it still happens, but it's the idea that you're constantly front of mind. It's sort of, I think that is a weird byproduct of social media. It gives you this false sense that, well, I'm out there all the time. That means I'm seen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as you pointed out, 3%, you're not seen all the time, no matter how much you're pumping out there.
But what it's also done, Tony, is it's given everybody a false sense that we have this huge platform
Mhm.
that everyone is gravitating towards.
Mhm.
And again, this is the interesting thing of it. Going back to my analogy before of me saying that Scott and I could be doing a show tonight at Carnegie Hall, and I'm lucky if 10 people respond in a positive way. I could put another post 5 minutes later, "Oh my God, I lost a button." And 5,000 people will respond.
Right.
Did you lose it in the living room? Did you lose it in the kitchen? Did you lose it outside? Maybe Benny, our dog, grabbed it and ran off with it. I mean, it's amazing what people respond to and what they don't respond to.
And what
And I
they're
want to,
allowed to respond to. And what they're not, and you know, like we're not the only people that are involved in this process
Oh,
because
no.
whatever's happening at Facebook is controlling who and what sees what. And I am thoroughly convinced I'm on a list.
I'm
You
sure
know,
you are.
to be picked up shortly.
A
But you
woman
know,
here in Rockland County who was a school teacher for special ed kids for 38 years responded with a like, no other comment, a like to an anti-Trump post.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her job. She lost her job because people on the school board went after her,
Mm-hmm.
and they went after her with a vengeance. And this is another thing. Think about this for a moment. The fact that Zuckerberg owns our digital footprint through Facebook, Instagram, Threads, which I'm not on, and WhatsApp. Those are 4 platforms that this man owns the digital footprint for.
right.
I left Twitter the day that Elon Musk bought it, and I never looked back. And I want to tell you, I loved Twitter. There's a great series on CNN right now about Twitter and its history. But I felt that Twitter was a better platform for getting the word out for me than Facebook is, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like cutting off my hands to hit that deactivate button.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I want to mention to everybody, you can all deactivate your Facebook accounts. There's a process to go through, which I can talk about at some time with all of you, maybe in the workshop that Scott and I are going to put together. But you can deactivate your Facebook account without deleting it. And that basically is what I've done. I have not deleted my account because I am taking the time each morning. a dear friend of mine called me over the weekend and he says, I see you're back on Facebook. And I said, well, not exactly. I'm just on there to get these names. So that, and then at the end of the day, I deactivate it again. So it's not visible in anyone's feed during the evening. And then I'll go back on the next morning and do the same process all over again.
Well, there's another good reason also to do that, and that is because somebody can scoop up that name. If you release the name, then somebody could scoop up your name, and then for folks who don't know that it isn't the real you. I mean, that was something I think that was more of an issue earlier on because I think people have in the dawn of social media, but it's still an issue. So once you open up an account on something, you really want to do due diligence on that so that somebody else isn't impersonating you, basically.
But I will also say this, and I knock on wood when I say this. I've been on Facebook now 14, 15 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long. But in that time frame, again, I knock on wood when I say this, I was never hacked. And a lot of people get hacked because without thinking, they click on a link.
Oh yeah.
And it's too late. It's gone. Or they will get a notification. I got a call the other day. I'm going to drop a name. Rosalind Kine called me because she said, I want to get off of Facebook. I want you to help me with this. And as we were talking, she said she's getting all these notifications that her pages are going to be deactivated because she hasn't done certain actions.
Right.
That way is a hoax, everyone. It is an absolute hoax. When you get those things saying that something is wrong with your account or something, delete them, block them, do whatever you can, but don't engage with them. And this is, and of course, people panic. They get a notification that their account is about to be shut down.
Right. They don't want to Jones. They don't want to Jones right away not having their Facebook.
But I want to share
that, urgency.
I want to share a quick anecdote with you, if I may. Somebody well known in the cabaret and theater world. We were Facebook friends. And several years ago, I reached out and I saw that he wasn't there. And the first thing I thought was, did he block me? What did I do wrong? And I called him. And he shared this story with me that he had gotten so obsessed with Facebook that Friday, Saturday nights, and again, this was when we had more of a news feed, he had a platform. And he would go on talking about mostly political stuff, and people were hanging on to every word. He did this at the risk of neglecting his music, neglecting his work, neglecting his friends, neglecting every other aspect of his life because this had become his platform. And then one night, he comes home early from a party, grabs a drink, grabs a cigarette, sits down at his computer, and he can't get on. And he is trying to find his password, everything. He couldn't get on. He had a panic attack because he felt that his entire world was wrapped up right here. And so he called his brother, who is a therapist. The brother said, I'm coming to New York, got on the next plane from California, came to New York to get him through this crisis. And it was a crisis, and it was real. So imagine, Tony, Scott, waking up tomorrow morning and finding out that your Facebook account has completely been hacked and is completely gone. How are you going to react?
No, it's not a good thing. And it's happened with the website. We've once or twice have had issues with our website where, and they're trying to get into everything double time nowadays as well. So listen, I do, because here's one of our next projects together, Richard, maybe we can add this to a series.
Another
is going
exclusive.
to be how to expand, Tony, how to expand people's attention spans. Because we've gone on, we've kind of started, but I do want to ask you if you will come back in about a month.
Yes.
Let's make this a little bit of, we'll come in, we'll see how things are going. We'll see, how things are working for you. I do want to make one general comment about what's happened in the world, and that is, I think I can comfortably state that Meta has become the opiate of the people, and that's really, if you don't know where that phrase comes from, Google it. It's not the meta, but it was originally religion, and it is people's religion now to be a part of this whole thing. And if you want to know more about Richard Skipper, you see what it says under his name there? Google him. Google me. You'll find out a lot of things about Richard and all of the. I mean, there's years worth of stuff that you've covered and done.
Maybe some things you would have been afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not afraid to answer, as you can both
No,
tell.
Yeah, no, I know that for sure. So, Richard, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. And folks, if you have questions to ask Richard and you want to send them through, to NiteLife Exchange, you can feel free to do that. You can feel free to obviously reach out to Richard directly.
Mm-hmm.
But if I might just remind everybody, because of the position that we're in, I really highly recommend, if you want to keep in touch with NiteLife Exchange, either you can go on there, but sign up for our newsletter. It is on the home page.
And it's
that way
I love your
we send out stuff. Yeah, we send out stuff to let you know what's going on. And also, Richard, I don't know if you saw, I very generously was offered David Kenny from Everything Old is New Again. This went out on Facebook, so you may not have heard about it, but he's offered me a 90-second spot as the editor of the publisher and editor of NiteLife Exchange, to go and have a little segment in Everything Old is New Again.
Come on, David, give him 9 minutes.
Really?
I'm giving him 90 seconds. But I tell you what it did do the other day is I literally haven't listened to the show in a while, and I stopped and I listened to it. And you know what? It was an extremely cathartic
I love it.
2 hours for me. So
I listened to it through the penthouse. It's great.
2 hours very well spent. So, Richard, thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll set a date, and we'll let everybody know through as many levels and mediums as we can when we have our next chat. But otherwise, this is going up on NiteLife Exchange.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Tony,
thank you so much for joining us.
Tony, we learned a little, huh?
We learned a little. We shared a little.
I
might have kveldt a little on the inside.
Tony and I are having dinner tonight. I'm going to out us out. We're actually getting together, Tony, myself, and David Edwards, and we're actually going to be face to face, folks. I highly recommend you add moments in time where you actually sit in the same room with people. It's a lot of fun.
There's nothing like it.
It's a lot of fun.
The analog experience is what it's about.
It's the best.
I'm really looking forward to it, Tony. I'll see you later.
I am too. I'll see you later, and we'll see you soon, Richard.
Give my love to David. I love him.
Oh, love you back. We all love you back. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Here are the credits.